All right, let's talk about the Rockets for a little bit. They're bad. We all know this. This is what happens when you get a draft picks based package back for James Harden and then you tell John Wall to sit for a whole season. Although it seems like John Wall is down for that. I don't think they forced him to do it or anything. So anyway, to me the questions with this Rockets team are: is this good for the development of Jalen Green, Şengün, who Rockets fans are begging Steven Silas to give more minutes, Kevin Porter Jr., Josh Christopher, Jay Sean Tate, all these young dudes? I'm going to go with it's definitely not helping. I don't think it means they're going to build bad habits that plague them for their whole career, but it's certainly not getting them off on the right track. And while I don't love John Wall, the player, I do recognize that him getting Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, all these guys easier shot attempts would be good for them. Now, at the same time, before this season, I kept going on about how I was fearful that John Wall would be taking shots away from some of these young dudes as well. Because, of course, for as good of a passer as John Wall is, dude likes to shoot, and he's not particularly efficient. Again, I don't love John Wall, but he'd be by far their best playmaker. But as of right now, they are currently ranked 30th in offense, and that's probably going to maintain itself. So we'll just have to see with that stuff. I think getting some sort of a playmaker in here would be great. The closest thing they've got to a veteran point is DJ Augustine, but he might be over the hill at this point. I doubt John Wall is just going to suddenly start playing. I mean, as of right now, Kevin Porter Jr. is their primary ball handler, and I mean, he just can't be the main guy running an offense. He can certainly make plays for other guys, but he can't be the one doing the most. And the thing is, if they just want to use all of their draft picks, which is not a bad idea, I mean, I don't think they should trade picks for the sake of doing it, but if they're going to use all of these picks they've got over the next few years, if none of these guys end up being awesome right away, it could just be a revolving door of young guys who need veterans around them, but there's so many young dudes, there's not enough room for vets. I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see just at what point do the Rockets choose to be a little more aggressive with going for win now type of guys, or just make us a little bit more respectable right now type of guys, if you will. The other thing about all that, too, is you've got Christian Wood's contract, which runs out after next season. If they're terrible again next year, you think Christian Wood's going to want to stick around? Maybe. Maybe they can just pay him whatever and he'll stay no matter what, but if he wants to be on a winning team, that could put pressure on the front office to look for a deal for him, and I think teams would definitely give you something. Would they want more draft picks? Would they want at least one player who can help them out right now, whatever that means for this team? I don't know. Now, of course, if they end up getting the first pick in the draft this offseason and then whoever they select in the next draft is amazing right away, then a lot of this looks better. So it's not as if it's impossible for them to dig themselves out of this, but I think when we think about the idea of tanking and bottoming out and doing all that, we got to remember that when you get to that point, it's not fun and it's not a guarantee that you get out of it. I mean, you look at the teams that have been bad for a long time now, the Magic, the Pistons, and I mean, those two teams have some young guys to feel excited about now, but how long has it taken for us to get to this point, you know? The Kings are another team. The T-Wolves, I mean, they had the Jimmy Butler years where they were better than usual, but then they fell back down to what they normally are. It's not easy to get out of it. Now, it's not impossible either, but it's certainly not easy, and we'll just have to see how the Rockets do with all of it. The crazy thing as well is because of John Wall's contract, they don't have cap space next year. So they can't even do the just throw money at some okay NBA players to take us from really bad to normal bad. Unless it's possible to trade John Wall's contract, and I mean, we'll see. It's certainly easier to do it when he's got 1 year left. Channing Frye reacts to a tweet suggesting the Lakers are going to have a Cavs 2018 type of deadline, or where they just like flipped the whole team, basically. It would not surprise me if they get that desperate. I mean, that's just pretty much what you sign up for when LeBron is on your team. But I don't know, man. In terms of tradable picks, in terms of just assets, like Talen Horton-Tucker is probably their one tradable asset, and he's already had some big games for them. I think the most alarming thing is that their defense has just not been good. Like, we all knew the Westbrook thing was going to be rocky. There were fears of with LeBron's health, and that's ended up being a thing. But they got to get back to the great defensive team that they were when they won the title, and they might not have the roster to do it. I mean, LeBron and AD, If those two are fully healthy, very good on defense, you figure a center who can at least just not suck next to those two makes your front line huge. But that also might not be enough. I mean, you're going from KCP and Caruso, then Kuzma at least got a little better defensively, and now it's not. It's just not that. And then there was this from the Celtics broadcast. I'm a big fan of this. I also think, I feel like other teams are going to try to do this now, and it's not going to be as funny. Who's the next surprise player to emerge into a superstar? Only correct answer is Lou Dort. I did the video on him, and then he scored 10 points against the Bucks. It's like clockwork. Oh yeah, this Sexton. He'll miss the remainder of the season. Yeah, that's tough. Hopefully he'll be alright. And hopefully this doesn't begin a series of knee problems for him. Because, the meniscus, that can be the type of thing where it begins a trend, As far as the Cavs are concerned, I think if they get all their guys back, they can still be good without Sexton. Certainly would have helped to have him. But the other thing you think about now is Sexton's free agency. He's going to be restricted, right? Unless they would trade him this season, which I don't know if that's even on the table. I don't think it'll really affect his free agency. I mean, we see guys get paid who are hurt. I guess it comes down to if teams are like super freaked out about the injury or not. James Harden mid-range. Let's check this out. It's like seeing a ghost. Is that a mid-range? That's in the paint. If you do that on NBA.com, that will be considered a shot in the paint, not restricted. It will not be considered a mid-range, so I am vetoing this right now. Also, can I just say, Harden and Blake had some interesting two-man action in that Magic game. And there you go. Also, Patty Mills had like 3 straight threes that were pretty fun. The Suns have won 11 straight. Man, watching CP in the fourth last night, he had this one where he went baseline and then did like a turnaround with Porzingis still pretty close to him. It was so good. To me, the Western Conference right now, it's the Warriors, it's the Suns, and it's everybody else. Now, so people don't forget, because I do think it's important to hold myself to this, I did pick the Lakers to make the finals.